In the Harvey Weinstein case outside the courthouse today. And like we always do here on Court TV and on Closing Arguments, we have open invitations to, whenever we cover a trial, to the attorneys involved, the witnesses, the defendant, victims, their families as well. So we'd like to hear all sides of everything. So tonight we have part of Harvey Weinstein's side of the story, because Harvey Weinstein's publicist, Juda Engelmayer, joining us live from our New York City studios. Juda, thanks so much for staying late and joining us tonight.
Thank you, Vinny. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here.
All right. Well, first question I have, and you are Harvey Weinstein's publicist. I cover a lot of trials. It's rare that a defendant has a publicist at the trial. So explain to me and to the viewers who might be curious as to what exactly your role is in this entire case, because, you know, it's a criminal trial. I understand the lawyers, but what's your job?
Well, two things. First of all, thank you for asking. I've been working with Harvey before the criminal charge were ever filed. He and I have become friends in a sense as well. So I come not just as a PR guy, but I'm also coming as a friend of his to support him as well. It's become more of a relationship than just a job in a sense. But what my role has been is to help him manage the narrative in the media to the extent that's possible, because this is not just a courtroom trial, as you know. Since October 2017, this has played out completely in the news. And part of it is it's skewed. The news has been so skewed in a sense, it actually hurts his chance of getting a fair trial.
Okay. And again, this trial is taking place now. The jury's not watching us. They're not supposed to, and I trust jurors not to watch us. But there's another trial that's going to happen in Los Angeles, presumably after this. So, okay, so that's part of the job. I get it. Now, you mentioned you're his friend. That's another question I had. Does Harvey have friends? If so, who are they? And have they been showing up at all to support him at the courthouse?
So if you've been at the courthouse, you've seen that the first two rows of the defense aisles have been filled with people on a regular basis who have been friends of the attorneys and friends of Harvey as well. One of Harvey's oldest and closest friends for 50 years has been Dr. Bill Carrero, who's been with him on his side just about almost every time he's been in court, and he shows up, I would say, on average of twice a week as well. And Harvey does have many friends who still support him. The problem is the ones who are public, the ones who are known figures, it's hard for them to come out and reach out in public because of the social atmosphere and, in a sense, the fear of getting pushed back.
So are you telling me that privately there are people that, you know, folks at home would know that might be very public people, whether they're actors, directors, producers, whatever, are still in contact with Harvey Weinstein, so he still has some sense of connection to people? He's not completely disconnected from his old life?
You'd be surprised how many people still keep in contact with him, call him, text him, even come over to his house on weekends. And on top of that, don't forget, he also has two young children, and he sees them as often as he can. He tries to keep a connection with them because he knows that's the most important thing.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
He does, and he has a core group of support that does hang around with him and does stay with him to make sure that he doesn't fall apart completely.
All right, and my next question, I mean, I'm 100% serious with this question, and I'm not, It's not a dig or anything else. But I've actually gotten a lot of emails about this, and people are curious whether or not, I mean, his marriage is broken up. Is he dating? Is he seeing anyone? I mean, he is now facing the potential of life in prison, okay? No one knows what this jury's going to do. I mean, in a few days, he could be locked up for the rest of his life. We don't know. But has he been dating?
He has been hanging out with friends, seeing a bunch of people, nothing to note, nothing worth talking to the media about. And I think his life is going to remain private for a while because that shouldn't be the focus. But he has been friends. He has friends that hang around him. He does have a little bit of a social life, and he's enjoying whatever he can.
And let's talk about, you know, I've never been in this position, right? I'm not a criminal defense attorney. I'm a former prosecutor. So I haven't even been standing next to someone who's facing the prospect of never being a free person ever again. Is he prepared for that potential? Because there's no one can control what these 12 people are going to do. Is he prepared for the potential of spending the rest of his life behind bars?
So it's an interesting question because I don't know how anyone can really mentally prepare for that. But I think there's something in the back of his mind that he's thinking that you never know how a jury is going to go, and you never know what this verdict is going to be. And I think that he has been emotionally trying to prepare himself. But I think he's staying optimistic for the most part, watching his counselors do the best job they can, fantastic job at that, and really appreciating what he sees right now and trying to get the most out of life. Because I think in the back of his mind he has to be thinking about it. And it's unreasonable to think that he's not. So I believe he is.
And you mentioned, we know he's a father, and so there's other preparations. There's like the logistical, financial preparations and all that. So that would have to be some acknowledgement that there's a potential that he could be locked up. I mean, will his children be taken care of? Has he kind of set everything up just in case this jury comes back and says guilty?
If Harvey is anything, he is making sure that his family are being taken care of, and it's very important to him that his children have everything they need, and his ex-wives have everything they need to take care of the children as well. So he's doing the best he can, and he's making all the preparations necessary, and he has people working with him to help that out as well to make sure, because that's the one thing he doesn't want to drop. Very important to him.
Now, this trial, and we're getting the transcripts. I think you know what we're doing. We're getting the transcripts. We have people voice it over so we get an idea of what's been testified to, what's been argued inside that courtroom. And, the accusations by these 6 women that have come in to this courtroom, and even if you believe that what was taking place is consensual, okay? Even if it's consensual, some of this stuff is kind of nasty, kind of boorish behavior. Harvey Weinstein sitting there and having to listen to it. From your perspective and your conversations with him, is there any self-reflection, acknowledgement that, hey, even though I know he believes this was all consensual, okay, that it was kind of wrong?
So, to be fair, Harvey has had a time of self-reflection. He's been through therapy, and he still continues the therapy a lot. And he does realize that as a boss, as a titan of the media, he has been a very difficult person in many circumstances, and that has made him not liked by a lot of people and made him a lot of enemies. I think to a large degree, there's something the lesson of be nice to the people you meet on the way up, the same ones you're going to meet on the way down. And to a degree, I think that's what he's facing, and I think he recognizes that. And he's been working on it really, really hard. And to tell you that my relationship with him has been very good. His relationship with his attorneys has been very good, and he is a markedly different person today than I believe he was back then. And he does acknowledge that a lot of the things that he did weren't the nicest and most appropriate, but illegal, not at all.
Well, I understand the difference. There's a difference between taking advantage of your position to meet young women, and there's a lot of people that do that, not just in the entertainment business. You can go around corporations around the world. We've seen these things play out. All right, let's flip the coin now. Let's say the jury comes back.
Sure.
Says not guilty, okay? And let's take it one step further, that either the case in Los Angeles is dropped or that's a not guilty as well. And now he's facing no more criminal charges. What does Harvey Weinstein want to do with the rest of his life if he ends up being a free man?
So, from your lips to God's ears, and we're hoping for that. And based on the evidence we heard in court, I believe that's going to be the verdict. But what's he going to do? Getting back to the original question of who his friends are, he does talk to a lot of people, and he still has a lot of people in the production business, in the film business, that do ask and seek his advice. And I believe that's a direction he's going to want to put his mark on some productions. And I'm not sure it's going to be as big as it used to be, and he's going to be as actively involved as he used to be. But he still likes it. He has a mind for art, a real talent for it to create, and he wants to continue doing that. But what he also wants to do is devote his life to philanthropy in a sense. He wants to build more hospitals, build more centers where people can get help, and that's where he wants to be. That's where he wants to be for the next 20, 30 years.
Does he feel bad? Having listened to those accusers, does he, or does he feel like, or is there more anger towards the accusers who came into court? What is he thinking about these 6 women?
Remarkably, Not anger at all. First of all, Vinny, I want to get back to it's only 2 women who are the criminal charges. But let's go back to
But
the
6 women
people
came into
in
the
court.
courtroom.
Obviously, I know what you're referring to. Right. And in some cases, the events, we're doubting that they even happened in the first place, but we're not going to get into that right now. Does he hear it? It's hard to hear it, and many instances he does listen, and it winces a little bit because the fact that he hurt people so badly, and the fact that he made people feel that way enough to do what he's doing, it really bothered him and made him look at his life. And that's also what's making him reconnect, making sure that his family's more important, his children are more important, and the people close to him are more important to him right now than everything else he was pursuing at once.
You know, there's another part of this, and again, this is not, I'm not being sarcastic or anything else. It was testimony. It was a big moment. It was huge headlines. You know where I'm going. There seems to be some confusion about the status of his genitalia. I know he's got children. What was there an accident at some point? Was this testimony not accurate? I didn't see the photos, so I have no idea. Can you clarify that tonight?
So I will say this. I have never seen myself. I didn't even see the photographs. But what I will tell you is that if you want to believe that there are 87, 90 people who made complaints against Harvey of some sort, and only one came out and said something about his body part, you have to start thinking, was it real or was it just made to hurt him and to embarrass him inside a courtroom? I don't know the answer to that. That's for the jury to decide. That's for the public to decide. But you've never heard that before until we got into the courtroom. And then someone else, another one of the accusers, pretty much came up with the same exact thing, only on this testimony, not originally to the grand jury or to the investigators. So I don't know. I've never seen, like I said, but I would have to think that a lot of this was done to hurt him more than anything else.
Judah, I'm ad-libbing right here. I'm kind of like audibleizing. Can you stay for just 10 more minutes? Okay. Folks in the control room, is it okay if we keep Judah for one more? Okay. We're going to keep you right there. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. And closing arguments today from the defense in the Harvey Weinstein rape trial. Closing arguments just from the defense. Prosecutions will be tomorrow. Then they've got a long weekend off, and then the jury will be instructed and get the case on Tuesday. And once you get to that moment, I mean, that's the game changer, right? The jury has the case. You have no idea what they're going to say one way or the other. And trust me, as long as I've been doing this and saying, oh, yeah, I think they're going to, I have no idea. No one does. No one knows what this jury is going to do. Still with me in New York City, Harvey Weinstein's publicist, Juda Engelmayer, is with us and has graciously stayed a little bit longer than we had originally asked him to be here. How would you describe Harvey Weinstein's mood tonight, knowing that there's nothing else you guys can do? You can't make another argument. You can't put any more evidence. There's nothing that Harvey Weinstein and his team can do.
So it's a good thing you mentioned that, because that is a little bit frustrating the way it's set up, where we had our last shot today, tomorrow the prosecution gets it, and then they get the rest over a 3-day weekend, and the last thing the jury is going to hear before they have to deliberate is going to be the prosecution side. But to give you an example of how Harvey feels, when he walked out of the courtroom today, people asked him how he felt. He said, you know, I made the King's speech. Today we heard the Queen's speech. And he was, he was jovial about it. Very, very emotional about it. He's happy. He thinks that his team has done a phenomenal job, and I agree with them. And they've set the record straight to the degree that we need to, and we're just hoping it carries the day.
Okay, let's again, if in fact this jury comes back and says not guilty, will Harvey Weinstein consider this some sort of vindication? And does he believe it will change the way people look at him?
Well, I think that we have a lot to go before, a long way to go before that happens, because vindication in one sense on the criminal side, but as you know that there are several civil suits against him right now, and he has to fight those as well. And I think the atmosphere has changed against him, where even if he walks in the street as a free man, people might sneer at him, make comments, because they still believe he is the person he is. And he has a while to go to recover from that, and that's going to be his primary job, is to show the world that he is a different person, that he is not the man they said he was. And I think he wants to do that, and it's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight, as you know, Vinny.
Oh, absolutely, because not guilty doesn't always turn things around in the public side, but it depends where you are also. You can ask O.J. Simpson about that. And I'm not comparing him to a double murderer, by the way. I'm just saying that was a high-profile case where someone was found not guilty and has had a life. Casey Anthony's had a horrific life, and she was found not guilty as well.
Right.
What do you think, and what is Harvey Weinstein?
I think you're...
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think you're right about that. And the other cases, I don't want to compare those. Those were very different types of criminal cases. But yes, it's going to take a while, and he acknowledged that, and he realized that. He's willing to work for it, and he wants to show the side of him that he wants the people to see right now, that philanthropic, loving side, that caring side. To the extent the side that you see in the email notes that he sends to people, he's always been nice, always been kind, always trying to help people out, and that's kind of what the jury has been seeing. And that's what he wants to continue showing, the good side of him.
What does Harvey Weinstein think the reaction will be in Hollywood if he's found not guilty?
It's going to be difficult because, like I said, there are still people in Hollywood who talk to him privately. I don't know whether or not they're going to roll out, quote unquote, the red carpet for him. I think it's going to be difficult. He has to make some amends in that sense, and he's willing to do that. It's not going to be an easy time, but he's willing to, he wants to go through that process, and he wants to show the world that he is a different person.
How about the money? You know, a lot of people are wondering, you know, there's civil suits, there was the bankruptcy of the company, very complicated case there. Obviously doesn't have as much money as he used to have, but is Harvey Weinstein a guy who, if he's found not guilty, would never have to work another day in his life and still live close to the level that he's been living his life?
Well, if you know anything about Harvey, he's the kind of person that doesn't not want to work. He wants to work, and he does work every day of his life. Even though he's not working right now on a project making money, he's working on his defense. He's been working on his rehabilitation. So he's a guy who's always going to want to work. And in that sense, he has been fine. It's obviously been difficult, more difficult than it ever has been before, but he's been managing. He has a lot of responsibilities he has to take care of. He has families he has to take care of, and he's been managing it. And I think he's going to find the way. If anyone can, he will.
All right. You know, I don't know what the jury's going to do, and I think either way, you know, at the end of my program, I try to remind people, you know, don't forget to hug the kids, which, you know, means many different things to me. But if you're going to give any message to Harvey Weinstein from me about what his life and the focus of his life could be from this point forward, whether he's guilty or not guilty, I would say just take care of those kids. If you've got kids, you got to take care of them. They need him more than Hollywood needs him. And they need him more than any charity needs him. And I may be preaching to the choir. He may already be doing that, but that would be my only advice, if whatever it's worth.
So I appreciate that, Vinny, and you know, he appreciates that as well, and I'm sure he, if he's watching, he appreciates it, and I'll relay it to him, and he'll appreciate it. And you're absolutely right. It is the primary focus of his life, of all of our lives, actually, and he is doing that. He has made an effort right now for the past 2 years to focus on his family, focus on his children, focus on the things that he didn't focus on enough, and he didn't worry about enough. He spent so much time worrying about making the perfect picture, he didn't necessarily worry about making the perfect family. His kids love him, and he wants to keep that. And he wants to maintain that, and he wants to build on that. It's very important to him.
Juda Engelmayer, you know, this could have been very contentious, you know, tonight. This could have gotten really nasty, but you answered questions, and you gave us as much information, I think, as you can, and you're a great advocate for your friend and client Harvey Weinstein. Obviously, we see the case a little differently, but I think it was important that we had this discussion, and you're always welcome back, along with your friend, if he ever gets out.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, if he does get out, he certainly wants to make the rounds. He certainly wants to tell the story, and we appreciate that. And I'll tell him he's invited. And if you want to ask the harder questions on another show, we're more than willing to come after it, because we know how to respond. We know what the narrative is, and we understand what's going on.
All right.
Thanks
so much. All right, folks. When we come back, time to bring in the think tank. Closing arguments. On closing arguments. It's a big night. We shall return.